And we know that homeschooling is all about community, especially because, family and the home is the smallest community unit. So, to give you some context on Homie, let me just move this window. Homie was born out of conversations with many parents across multiple countries and Facebook groups. And many of these parents were experiencing all sorts of challenges with homeschooling, especially during COVID and while working full time. And, in the registration form, some of you shared some reasons why you're considering homeschooling. And so we really appreciated you being so honest, and we wanted to share back some of the insights that we received so you could see what other parents are thinking and feeling. And we did notice a couple of themes, one of them being that a lot of you just really want to spend more time with your kids and tailor their education to what is aligned with your values as a family. And then another theme, which could be related, is this overall unhappiness with the current educational school system and the environment that your kids are being raised in. So I see we have some more people coming in. Melissa, you're from Adkins, Texas, outside of San Antonio. Your kids are also adaptable. It's awesome. Kelly, you're from Slower, Lower, Delaware, and your daughter is dedicated. Your son is a squirrel. Okay, interesting. And great. And then Carolyn, you're from Baltimore also. Okay, our guest speaker is from Baltimore as well. And they are able to figure out technology, of course. Yeah. And they're digital natives. And then Carolyn, you're from Charlotte. That's awesome. I actually have family in Charlotte. Zero focus. Okay, so today's workshop was organized by this team right here, who all happen to have a home emoji next to their name on Zoom in case you need to find them and message them about any issues. So meet Quinta here. She's the founder of this community. She's a mother of 4 boys and she's new to homeschooling. And it was really on her heart to create this amazing community. And then we have Deborah and Sebastian, who will be your tech support for today. And then there's me, your host. So just a brief idea of what to expect for today. We'll be having a living room chat with our guest speaker, followed by 10 minutes of intimate breakout room discussions. Then we'll come back and share some key takeaways from your discussions before we end with next steps and a Q&A. Okay, so finally, without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our amazing guest speaker, Mrs. Beth Graham. Beth is a retired homeschool mom based in Baltimore, Maryland, sorry. Canadian over here. And she homeschooled her 3 kids throughout high school. Her and her husband, Scott, have a beautiful family with 2 daughters and a son who are 23, 27, and 31. And now that she's seeing her adult kids in the working world, Beth has a deeper perspective of what's most important to teach your young homeschoolers. She also has a Facebook group called Homeschool Encouragement and Support, a YouTube channel called Homeschool 2-Minute Tips, if you just need the quick tips. And she also coaches homeschool parents through Zoom. In addition, Beth is also a yoga instructor, so she has a passion for wellness and balance. And you are honestly all in for a treat today because Beth has been in this game since the 2000s, I believe, possibly earlier. So just sit back and relax and listen to this heart of wisdom. So take it away, Beth.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. So welcome. And when I was putting together my notes for this, what I realized and what I am actually sharing with you all is our family story. And I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm sharing our memories, and I'm sharing what made raising my 3 kids, the most amazing experience for Scott, my husband, and myself. And we started off, Rachel was talking about the whys for homeschooling, and she gave my answer right away. I wanted to be with my kids. Duncan at the time was in 4th grade. Rachel was in kindergarten, and Maria, the baby, was the toddler running around the house. I had owned a insurance agency, so I had been a career woman. And when Maria was born, I decided to stay home with the kids. And then I felt like there was something that was missing because I was home, but they weren't. They were at school. So I got the idea about homeschooling because my husband's older brother and his wife homeschooled their 4 kids. So the why was simple. I wanted to be with my kids. And how it all evolved was we were traveling down to South Carolina to visit with my husband's brother and sister-in-law. And I had gotten Oprah Winfrey's first magazine, her first O magazine, and in it, it had a journal question. And it said, if you had a year to live, what would you do? And right there, I read it. I said, I'd be with my family. And I turned to Scott, who was driving on the interstate south, and said, we're going to homeschool. And he looked at me and was like, oh, okay. And I said, no, I'm serious. We're going to homeschool. So we got to South Carolina, and my sister-in-law, bless her, was my coach. And she sent me home with a stack of catalogs, paper catalogs, and was there for me to explain how to get through those initial steps and jump into this homeschool world, because this was in the year 2000 and nobody homeschooled. And when we announced that we were homeschooling, people truly thought we were crazy because they didn't know homeschoolers. We always got, well, what about socialization and all the questions that you guys are about to start getting. So I'm here to hopefully offer you some encouragement and to keep you focused on the why you are doing this. So how do you homeschool? You might be thinking right now, this is the most important thing that you need to address. And what I'm going to say is it's probably the least important thing. So let's unpack that later. I'm going to put it off to the side. And because I'm a retired homeschool mom, and as Rachel said, Duncan is 31, Rachel's 27, Maria's 23. I have 3 kids that have all gone to University of Maryland, College Park, and they're all in separate careers. Duncan is in the IT business and is a front-end designer. I am told that he makes code look good. That's all I know about what he does. Rachel is in the wellness world like me. As a homeschooler, she got to start teaching yoga as a 16-year-old and did her first teacher training. So she is she meets everyone through Instagram and TikTok and is an online health and wellness coach, and is actually leading her first retreat in Costa Rica at one of the venues where I teach this coming February. And then Maria, the youngest, is in the insurance industry, like I was and my husband is. She works at an insurance brokerage firm. So going back to the benefits, what do we need to have our kids embrace and be comfortable doing when they leave our homeschool world, meaning when they graduate? And I would say there are 3 things. The first things that you'll probably hear a lot of people talk about is homeschoolers are self-starters. What does that mean? So in a homeschool family, I would have calendars, and each kid had his own daily calendar of the work that was expected. So they could then start their work independently. So I would start the day, and always probably started with Maria, the youngest, and I'd start with her doing math, and I would say to Rachel, do your spelling, and then I'll come to you and do math. And Duncan, I'd say, do your spelling and your reading, and then I'll be with you to go over your math lesson. So they knew how to do that and be a self-starter. But what also you're able to do as a mom who's a homeschool teacher, you're also a coach to your kids. So there are problems, whether it's a research paper or a life problem, that they need to find the answer to. And you can teach them about, okay, we have many resources. We can look up the solution online. We can go to the library and find resources. Or there's this whole world out there. We have a community, we have a city, and there's family, and we have these people in our world that are resources, and we can communicate with those people and say, hey, I know you're an expert in X, Y, and Z, and I want to know how to handle that. And teaching kids how to then approach others and find these answers. And it really is interesting, because for a child to reach out to someone else, it really takes getting them out of their comfort zone. But I can now see by things I had my kids do when they were younger, that they are so much more comfortable in their work positions with all ages. And I'll tell you another little story about that in a moment. So that was the big piece, the self-starter, but then also having writing skills is important, because so much communication today is done, whether it's with a coworker or a boss or an employee or a customer or a supplier, it's done writing in emails. So being able to write clearly and communicate what the said end goal is important. Lastly, communication skills are so important. Today, there seems to be a lot of pause words in sentences and in communicating, and it can be distracting for the listener. We used to call it the like disease. So Scott had a jar of quarters, and every time one of our kids had the like disease, saying like this, like as a pause word, they had to put a quarter in the jar. I'm noticing today there's a lot of and ums. So the vehicle of homeschool you can use to learn communication skills. I posted a video on my homeschool group on Facebook, and it was about taking a flower, learning descriptive words for it, writing sentences, writing a paragraph, but then giving an oral report on the flower. So you can incorporate all these different means, writing skills, communication skills. It could be a self-starting project, and kids will blossom. So back to a cute little story. Duncan, this is back when Beanie Babies were really big. I don't know if they still are today. Well, he had $5 saved and wanted to buy a Beanie Baby. And I said, well, we're going to do life skills class now, and you're going to learn how to use the yellow pages and look up a phone number and call the gift shop. He was terrified until I sat him down and said, no, this gift shop is actually there to serve you. They wouldn't be in business without you, the customer. So you actually are the one that is in a place of strength. So he then became comfortable calling the gift shop to find out if they had said Beanie Baby and say, put it to the side, I'm coming with my $5 today. So you have that time to teach these life skills to your kids. Life skills also include things like how to make your bed. By 9th grade, my kids were all doing their own laundry, how to vacuum, how to take care of yard and maintenance. So you have that time together to not just prepare your kids to know how to approach academics at a higher level, but also how to approach life outside of your house. Another benefit, I would say, I've already mentioned, it's the memories. Scott and I have memories that we talk about still, and that just warm our heart. When we would go places, whether it was in the homeschool community or whether it was in the neighborhood or other, a Boy Scout community that Duncan was in, we moved as a unit and we were known as the Grahams. And there was a certain energy about us that was magical for me to look back at. But as we were the Grahams, we were all individuals in that. Duncan brought these strengths of being a musician, and then Rachel was a competitive gymnast, and Maria was the actress and the ballet dancer. So we all had these individual strengths, and the kids learned how to be comfortable in their skin and be able to spotlight those strengths in this group environment or our home community. So let's get back to what I know you guys are all itching to hear is the how, because I'm hearing and talking to and messaging moms about how do I do this though? This is what I'm terrified about. So the first thing you do is contact your Board of Education. Each state has different rules. And I'm seeing now that some curriculum is accredited. I know states are requiring some accredited programs, but get in touch with your Board of Education. Look at it online, and there's phone numbers, give a call, but also enroll your kids. Show your kids that you're being a self-starter to figure this out and get them to help you as well. The next piece is look for Facebook groups for your specific state, county, or city. Homeschool parents or homeschool moms are so helpful. They will jump in and help you figure this out. You will also be able to maybe go on the Nextdoor app and find out if there are any other homeschoolers in your area on that app, and get together and call those parents and ask them, hey, I need some tips. I'm trying to figure this out. Just how do I register my kid to homeschool? The next piece is curriculum and how to choose. I'm hearing there's different ways to do it today than when I was doing it. There's online school. We didn't have that back then. Some parents choose school in a box. Calvert School was very popular when we were homeschooling. And that means for first grade, you get all the curriculum for first grade. I was a little bit of a rebel and wanted to put together my own curriculum because I didn't want my 3 kids all doing their own school program and not have this community experience in our family. So I recommend, you can still get it today. I've ordered my catalog. It hasn't arrived yet. It's thick, like our old time phone books. It's called Rainbow Resource Group. You will be able to flip through that catalog and earmark it and see so many neat curriculum choices. Like 1 year for language arts, we did movies as literature, meaning the movies that we watched, and these were all, some old black and white movies, classic movies. We use those as the vehicle to teach language arts. The other thing is when you create your own curriculum, you can school your kids together. So 3 kids, Duncan is more than 7 years older than Maria. They all did their own math programs. Then they had their own language arts some of the time. But then history and science, I always taught to the kids together. And then they would do their appropriate projects for their grade level or age level, independent of each other. We would also read the same books, or we would listen to the same book on audio. So one example is Duncan read Animal Farm, and Maria, as a 6-year-old, listened to the audio. We would then discuss it around the dinner table, and Maria, remember, she's the actress. She would get up and start acting out the different scenes with the animals. We did a lot of audiobooks. We would listen to them in the car when we were driving to Junior Park Rangers, where the kids all did some nature science classes. And even Maria, as a little one, would say to us, how long a drive is this? Is this a drive where we're going to listen to the radio or a book on tape? So she could begin to understand time concept based on what we were doing and if we were listening to an audiobook. So you're going to help coach your kids on how to be a self-starter by them seeing it in you. Then choosing what is best for you, the school out of the box or putting your own curriculum together or online curriculum. I spoke to one mom in Kenya. She's doing online because that's how she can get resources. And I've said, if you're doing that, that works great for you, and honor that. But read a lot to your kids and read together with them. I would say the times on the couch at nighttime that we would spend reading historical fiction, say, were the sweetest memories that now I look back on. And I think, you can't replace that magic and that time together. Planning your days and planning your weeks. So I saw somebody today on Facebook say, how do I plan out the whole year at once? And I commented right away. I was like, no, stop, don't do that. Mostly because you want to look at the week ahead and plan for the week. You don't want to plan out the whole year because there's going to be so many fun opportunities that come up that you want to be able to incorporate. And you also want to plan for what I'm going to call are the storm clouds. So Scott used to say, come January or February, kids, watch out, be good, storm clouds are coming. What I'm saying about that is I usually start out the school year and the energy level would be so high. I would be ready to take on the world at the beginning of the school year. Then by the time January or February come, I'd be a little burned out. And I didn't stop. I kept plugging through this. And what I would share for you is have some grace for yourself, some compassion, and say, we're going to plan some time where mom gets a break. We're going to go to the library and we're going to get a whole basket of library books. And you're going to have some freestyle learning this afternoon because mom's going to go into the other room or upstairs in her bedroom and have some chill time. So I would really just plan week to week. And you're also going to see, by coming to more of these meetings on my Facebook group, I'm going to be giving you all kinds of ideas on how to make homeschooling fun and not take school and put it into your house, but actually create this homeschool lifestyle. And I guarantee you, you'll get all the math done that you need to get done. My kids learned that school at the end of the year was over when they finished their last math lesson. Some parents are asking about, if my kid goes back to school for high school, or how do I know that they're going to have enough understanding and learning? And my youngest did go to high school for a couple years because it was just the two of us and she wanted to experience that. She had never been to school. And so she went to high school for the last couple years. And she came home and she said, Mom, you were so much harder than they are in school. So I thought, okay, I guess when you're a parent, you don't have an idea of limitations based on age or grade. So I just expected that they would do things the way I thought they were able to do them. So in closing, what I'm going to do is read to you the final paragraph on my website, because this sums it up. So what I say is, warning, please don't leave this page thinking that everything went perfectly when we homeschooled. Don't think I was confident. I was scared. It seemed like a huge responsibility, and the thought of messing up my kids was always on my mind first. Still, I knew it was right for all of us, and I leapt into the uncertainty, and I'm so glad that I did. So that about sums it all up. At almost 60, I know I still have, some years ahead of me. But I will always look back at our homeschool years as being the absolute best in my life. So I'm here for you to support you during the question answers, and maybe we'll be in a breakout room together. Yes, email me, join the Facebook group, and check out the YouTube channel. And please, I am here to give. So email me with your questions. Like you need a specific science or history program, email me. I will shoot you back an email and hold your hand through this.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Beth. Love listening to you. I hope everyone feels a bit calmer after this. And yeah, your family is beautiful. I wish I was part of it.
You're welcome to join us. You can be a Graham.
Thank you so much for being with us today. So now we're going to move on to the breakout rooms for the next 10 minutes. And so I'm just going to give you a few tips for the rooms as well as the prompts to kick off your discussion. So we encourage you, once you go into your breakout room, it'll be very small, by the way. So everyone will have a chance to share. Please introduce yourselves, maybe your location and how, the number of kids that you have, or the number of squirrels that you have. And, try to keep your cameras on if possible so we can see each other. Choose the questions that speak to you. Don't feel like you have to answer all of them. And be mindful of the time. We will send some reminders throughout the 10 minutes. And then if anything happens, if you have any technical issues, just raise your hand or you can message Deborah or Sebastian or myself. And then when we come back from the breakout rooms, we will share a little bit and then we'll have the Q&A with Beth and Quinta. So the discussion prompts that we have are here. So the first one is, why are you considering homeschooling, or why have you decided to homeschool? And then the second one is, what are you most worried about and most excited about when it comes to homeschooling? And then finally, what values will you embrace in your homeschool? So with that, Sebastian is going to break us out into rooms and we'll see you in 10 minutes.
All right, everyone getting ready. See you in the breakout rooms.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Kelly. I get it with the needing the wiggle time or wiggle room. Like I actually personally have a bouncy ball that I sit on sometimes when I just like need to release energy while working. I don't know if that would help or make things worse, but that's something to consider. But thanks for sharing. Who would like to share next? Oh, Lisa's baby's so adorable. Quinta, go ahead.
Yeah, we had such an interesting conversation. So all of us are COVID homeschoolers. We started the homeschooling during COVID, and then we're enjoying it, and we don't want to go back. We want to do this for life, most of us. But it was interesting to hear from a couple who have the struggles. They are still they have someone in their family not wanting to come to terms with the idea of homeschooling. So I just found that interesting because we went through that yesterday as well. And then we have one still trying to decide.
Oh, Brooke's the one waiting to decide. Yeah. The verdict will come soon. Thanks so much, Quinta, for sharing. I'll share a little bit too from my room. I was with Melissa and Adelie, and we had an amazing discussion about how to homeschool with kids that also have special needs, and super, super interesting. And we were also talking about how to integrate health and wellness because one of the daughters has a heart issue. So especially with COVID and everything, that is a huge pull towards homeschooling. And also just wanting to, one of the reasons why, bringing the kids back into the home is because some teachers don't have the patience to to educate the special needs kids the way that they need. And so I thought that was great to talk about. Yes, Lisa, your kids are adorable. Hello. Hi. Would anyone else like to share?
I'll share, but I can't find the raise the hand thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to share that you will always have somebody saying that what you're doing is not the right way to do it. I was at a large event Saturday a week ago, and I was talking to a couple who are friends with my mom and dad. So they're in their late 70s, and I was telling them how I was jumping in to support homeschool parents because this couple was talking about the school system and issues they were seeing. And so I said, I'm jumping in to do this. And I said, like when we started homeschooling in 2000, people thought we were crazy. And this couple said, we thought you were nuts. And I have had one of my best friends say to me, she's opened up in the last couple of years and said, Beth, I thought you were the craziest thing ever. I thought your kids were going to be total whacks. And it turned out that your kids turned out better than all of our kids. And not that it's a comparison or a competition of who has the best kids, because that's not it. But I'm now hearing that there were so many people who thought we were crazy at the time. So you're always going to have that. You're going to have the next door neighbor who's kind of Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched looking in and saying, what are they doing, those crazy Grahams? But when you know in your heart that this is what you're meant to do, and you see your kids every day, when people would say, well, how do you know your kids are learning? It's like, well, I checked his math and he got them all right. Or I checked his math and he didn't understand long division, so we had to go back over it. Like, every day there is an assessment. Because every day you're seeing if your child is progressing to the next topic or not.
Thanks, Beth. That's awesome. Such a funny story. You have many great stories. And I just caught myself saying but and it's funny that you say that, because yesterday we had a workshop with a woman named Clarissa, and she is of Asian descent, like myself. And, in the Asian culture, education is so important. And she was saying that her parents would, in front of the kids, say, so when are you going to send them to real school? And they would babysit the kids as well and say things that were just not encouraging when it came to homeschooling. So maybe it's best to just expect people to think that it's weird and just go with it. But before we move on to Q&A, maybe we could have one more person share? Don't be shy. Brooke? Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, I'll share. I'm one of the I'm in the COVID homeschooler group. This was our first year, and I was amazed at what I was amazed at what happened in our house this year, and with the kids, and how they were able to grow and develop and learn, and how much our family got to be so close and much more of a team. And I felt like our relationships really blossomed, and there's so much about it that I love. And I think my biggest fear moving forward is just, for myself, just like the burnout factor. And then just also like how will my children reacclimate into a public school world if that's what we do the following year. So
yeah, those are real fears. If it encourages you at all, there was a recent article that came out that talked about how some of the top Ivy League universities are actually actively recruiting homeschoolers. And so I think that really speaks to the well-roundedness of homeschooled kids, even if it's just 1 year. You never know the impact. I mean, you've already seen the impact over this past year. So, imagine with more intention, with more support and community, how much more they could grow and thrive. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to move on to next steps and Q&A. Let me just reshare my screen. And so thank you, everybody, so much again for coming, especially on a Sunday when there's so many other things you could be doing. We will be dropping in a survey into the chat where you'll fill out the survey if you'd like, and at the end there will be a link to a free Homey planner. So like Beth said, don't feel like you need to plan out the whole year right away with this planner, but you can print out the pages that are relevant to you now, and use what you need, and you can use it for yourself or for your kids depending on the age. And then, keep an eye out in your inbox for some messages from us. We'll keep you updated on more opportunities like this to engage together and to just have a space to share, all the chaos that's going on around you or in you. We really do care about your wellness as a parent and balance as well. So we're here for you. And now we get to move on to Q&A. So I'll stop sharing. I know that we just had some questions asked during the sharing, but if you have any questions, there's no dumb questions. We've received so many, and we understand the hurdles of figuring this all out. And you can either raise hand again or type in the chat. You can also message me anonymously too.
Beth, did you want to talk to Brooke's question about or her concern about?
Yeah, you're a mind reader. Yeah. So the concern of kids matriculating back into school. So as I said, our youngest did go to a couple years of high school, and the matriculation was easy. My 3 kids went to University of Maryland, and those are classes for freshmen of 100 to 200 students. Before then, they broke out into their smaller majors. My kids had no issue whatsoever. And what I will attribute this to is in the homeschool environment, you are able to nurture your child's confidence in herself of being comfortable in his and her own skin. And they are able, learning to make the phone call for the Beanie Baby, learning to develop those skills. Also, we were in homeschool. I was a Girl Scout leader in homeschool, and we were in a science group. We were in different collective homeschool groups. In the homeschool world, the moms, I was Beth, I wasn't Mrs. Graham. Homeschool kids then learn to interact with you as another person. There wasn't this fear, which I have seen this with, I have a good friend whose daughters are in high school, and it's like they almost won't look at me in the eye and speak to me. And I'm like, guys, I'm just like you. I'm a person. Let's share. Let's be friends. Homeschoolers are like that. They'll come up to you and just start talking to you and saying, Beth, did I tell you what we did in science? And I'll be like, Liana, that's great. Do you want to share it to the Girl Scout group? It's a different comfort level. So I wouldn't have any concerns about that. I said in my breakout room, what is really important, and it worked for us, was having a strong math program. There's so many other vehicles that you can use for language arts and for reading, and encouraging those in your home environment. But what is key is you're not raising somebody who knows how to do algebra 2. You're raising somebody who is a lifelong learner. Learning is 24/7, 7 days a week, and encouraging that they will have these skills through their life and always be learning and always be growing. So school will not be an issue.
And what about her question of burnout? Thank you. Anyway.
Burnout.
That was
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. As I said when I was initially speaking, Scott would gather the kids and say, storm clouds are coming. I physically quit 2 times. Like I said, I'm done. I'm quitting everything. And he would say, yes, dear. And he'd say, kids, we're going to take the week off work. But what I would do is have some more awareness in yourself that you don't need to do it all. And your kids are going to turn out okay. I learned to put the oxygen on me first. So I would co-op maybe with another mom, and we would do science together, or we would do spoken word poetry together. She would do one subject, I would do the other, and get a break. Also realizing that, okay, we're going to get so much more done in this 5-day homeschool world than kids ever get done in school. So maybe every Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to take the afternoon off, or maybe it's Friday afternoon, and the kids will either watch a documentary, or they'll do freestyle learning, or maybe I'm going to give them a ton of craft projects to do and say, hey, go create. So Duncan with the girls would take the video camera, he would write scripts, and those wooden statues that bend all over, that became Mr. Bob, and there was a whole Mr. Bob series. So many things can happen, but you don't have to be there running the show. You can find homeschool co-ops. Sometimes that was difficult for me because other parents had different end goals as far as learning. And so we were in one co-op with Maria, and they were teaching to the lowest level rather than a higher level. So, find out what works for you, but you don't have to do it all. Oops, I think you're muted. Okay.
Thanks so much,
Okay.
Beth.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I'm so glad you elaborated on this. Brooke, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, we have a question. So there's someone here who's got a 1.5-year-old and is already trying to figure out how to incorporate more homeschooling into the child's life. And they're already reading to their child, playing language audiobooks. Any advice around the early childhood development phase for like 0 to 5-year-olds?
For me, I would say I read to my kids from newborn on, and reading to your kids is the most important thing. Letting them see you also be a learner. So letting them see you physically reading and doing things. So kids are sponges. They learn and just soak everything up. I would just enjoy your 1.5-year-old and cuddle and love and give your 1.5-year-old that confidence that parents are there and think the world of you, and that will translate into that ability to know that they can really conquer the world at whatever age when they're ready. But I just think read to your kid. I also heard this, and so I did it. I heard that boys were better at math when the babies were like tossed all around. So I used to do that with my girls. I don't know where I got that, but I was like, oh, I can toss my girls around. So they see the world upside down and right side up, and it gave them some perspective. Totally unscientific, but my girls both did fine in math. Yeah.
That's amazing. That probably motivated them to get to math class or math, the subject.
I don't know. It was just that whole seeing the world in a different place. I read that somewhere. So.
Very cool. Anyone else have any questions? Deborah has also put in the survey into the chat. If you'd like to fill it out right after this, you can open it up, but we will also email it to you so it should be in your inbox within the next 24 hours. Any other questions? Well, what about on behalf of some parents who have special needs kids? Beth, do you have any advice on how to manage that as well as the other kids? And I'm not sure if there's a specific question that anyone wants to ask around that.
So I've talked to a couple moms with autistic children, and I actually grew up with my mom's younger sister is developmentally delayed. So I have some comfort, but I am by no means an expert. And what I would say is every child is a unique individual, and every child has different needs. So depending on, just include everybody. And if one child is doing a puzzle while you're reading history or isn't able to sit still, then just let them do their thing. As I said earlier, they're sponges. They're going to soak it up. They're going to hear what you're saying and what you're communicating. It was when we first started homeschooling, Maria was 3, and she would not let us, because she still took a nap, she would not let us do history without her. She then went to preschool and would start talking about the French Revolution at preschool and start using Spanish words that she had learned in homeschool at preschool. We did have a concerned teacher because I forgot to teach her shapes, but I was like, but she knows Spanish and the French Revolution. So, they're all going to get it. And as far as special need kids, our kids, everyone has special needs. So just honor them and let them come together and absorb what they're ready to absorb at any given moment.
Thanks, Beth. I love that. Yes, we all have our own special needs. I wonder also when it comes to managing expectations, like helping a child to have higher expectations of themselves when they've had experience with teachers who did not have high expectations of them. How do you teach and learn that?
I don't know if that developmentally, if kids have that awareness, because I don't think they're developmentally there. I do have a story. Rachel, as I said, went to kindergarten, and Rachel has a mind and is still that mind where she's a daydreamer. She's a creator. And in May of kindergarten, she was probably, I can picture it, she was staring out the window, didn't pay attention to the math lesson, and they were doing addition all school year. And at the end in May, she was given a subtraction sheet and she added everything. So she got a paper back with all red marks. So she, at the beginning of first grade, said, I'm really bad at math. And I said, no, sweetie, you're our math genius. So Scott and I called her all year our math genius. And she would be doing her math and she'd be running her hands in her hair and her hair would be out to here. And we'd say, look, you've got math hair because you're a math genius. So she left kindergarten with that low expectation of herself as how she was as a math student, and we needed to break that and encourage that. So I don't know if they developmentally have expectations of themselves. The one thing that we also tried to do is move away from this idea of grades, that you're learning something for a grade. You're not learning it for a grade. You're learning how to do subtraction, so then you can use it when you balance your bank account and subtract something that you bought at the store. So encouraging that rather than teaching to a test or teaching to a grade. And yeah, grades are important. We all need that, to get into college or, an SAT. But we wanted to encourage learning rather than a letter.
That's awesome. I have a question for you, Beth.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that your kids all went to the University of Maryland, College Park, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, just curious, did they choose to go there all together because of that relationship with each other, or what was?
So it's interesting. Duncan, being the oldest, I had no idea what I was doing being a college guidance counselor. So he had applied to William and Mary, to Dickinson, and he was applying to St. Mary's School in Maryland. And I said to a friend, oh, we need a backup school. He's going to apply to Maryland. And the friend said, wait, the valedictorian of the local high school didn't get in. Like, that's the hardest school he's applied to. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what I'm doing. So the choice came down to, he got scholarship money at some schools and he really wanted to go to Dickinson. And it just didn't make sense because University of Maryland, being as strong or stronger of a school, being a state school, had a lower tuition. So Scott sat him down and showed him our family finances and our mortgage payments and everything and said, does this make sense? Because the only thing we would say is, why do you want to go to Dickinson? And he liked that the buildings were stone. Okay. So this is what you're dealing with a 12th grader. And so we said, you know what? You've got scholarship money and great opportunities at the private schools, St. Mary's and University of Maryland. And Duncan has a huge personality. And St. Mary's was very small. And he said, I feel like if I go to St. Mary's, I'm going to leave the same person that I went into the school as. At Maryland, because there's 25,000 students, I'm going to be somebody different. And not different, and different in a growth way. It was going to push them to grow. So,
wow, that's amazing. The level of self-awareness that he had and foresight. That's awesome. And he clearly has an eye for design if he wanted to go.
Yeah. Well, he was an architecture major there. So he went there. Rachel actually took a gap year and she moved to Paris for a year and was an au pair and went to the Sorbonne. And Rachel, as I said, was our competitive gymnast. So she's got this internal competitive drive, and it wasn't necessarily with siblings, but herself. And she was like, if he got into Maryland and went there, I'm going there. So she then took a gap year and waived her acceptance for a year and went. And Maria just sort of felt the same way, that because they had gone there, she went there. We spent a lot of time for Maria looking for backup schools, applying to other schools, like if she doesn't, get into Maryland. So mostly it was encouraged by us because it's financial. It's a great school. And, I have all the taxpayers of Maryland helping pay the tuition. Both girls were English majors. And Duncan was an architecture major. Duncan's very left brain, right brain. He's an artist as well as has those strong math skills. So
amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. This was, so fruitful for a lot of us. And I really appreciate just all the stories. I remember things better in stories. So I really appreciate that. I think that more education should incorporate storytelling, like podcasts and stuff like that. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Kelly has a friend going to dental school in Maryland. So we're going to close here. But before, I just want to say thank you again for everyone staying on an extra 15 minutes and coming, in the first place. We will be reaching out to you with more resources, especially, the survey that we're sending out. it's really trying to assess your pain points as a homeschool parent, or parent in general. And we really want to design this community around your needs, and give you resources just in time, in the right place and time. So please keep in touch, and everyone have a great week. We're rooting for you. And if you need to reach out to us, we do have an email. It's support@homie.so. And you can always go to our website as well. There is at the bottom a place where you can enter your email if you want to subscribe to our newsletter. So there's lots of ways to stay connected. And anyway, enjoy the rest of your evening, and take care. Great meeting everybody. Thank you.